And without further ado, let me introduce today's presenter, who really doesn't need any introduction. A multi-talented keyboard artist and composer, Phillip has composed original works in a variety of genres, from piano solo to symphonic orchestra, and has published over 100 volumes of the Phillip Keveren Series with Hal Leonard. His clever and smart arrangements of popular songs, religious favorites, Broadway and movie themes, even Motown, which is my personal favorite, and classical and jazz standards have brought joy to millions of piano students and teachers alike. Let's please welcome Phillip Keveren.
How is everyone?
Hey!
Good to see you.
You too.
Happy 22, believe it or not.
Can you believe it?
Yeah. Well, it's unfortunate that we can't be together in the same room, but boy, are we fortunate to have technology like this that's allowing us to get together even virtually. I am so glad today to be inside and enjoying a warm studio. We're having it's been cold several days, maybe a week here in the Nashville area. And we're not used to overnights in the teens, and it just seems like we can't quite get warm around here. We're going to be looking at a variety of books today at a variety of levels. And I thought it might be nice to start with a book that is, I would call it playful, in the sense that we're taking country songs and putting a bit of a classical flair on them. We've done a number of these books, everything from Queen and Disney and Elton John and Billy Joel to hymns in classical styles. The country songs in this volume are everything from traditional country to more popular tunes. This Glenn Campbell tune, By the Time I Get to Phoenix, is a good example of taking a popular melody and bringing something out of the classical repertoire together with it. So I'm not literally quoting the Debussy Reverie, but I am taking this that very, very distinct accompaniment pattern and placing that in By the Time I Get to Phoenix. Now you'll notice that I put By the Time I Get to Phoenix in E flat. So if you wanted to make a little medley, you could do By the Time I Get to Phoenix and then go into the Reverie and have a key center shift there that would work nicely. And I would say that teaching these two pieces together would be an interesting way to approach it. So we have, through this modern technology, the ability to see and hear the performance of this piece, which I did earlier, and you can watch the music. Amy got this together so that we can see the music go by as we listen to it. So here is By the Time I Get to Phoenix, informed with the Debussy accompaniment. Now, the part that I just arrived at in that arrangement is where it goes into a development section, where the tune is not explicitly expressed, but more of a developmental style that would be typical in a classical piano piece. So that is country songs with a classical flair. Other titles in here: Your Cheatin' Heart, Tennessee Waltz, Take Me Home, Country Roads. It's interesting to me, because of the internet and the streaming services, you know, everything from Apple Music to Spotify, Pandora, these things. People are more aware of music across the ages than ever before. I run into young people that are just as acquainted with the Beatles and with, you know, Glenn Campbell songs as they are what's coming out today. They can get to it quickly and easily. They develop tastes in all kinds of interesting side genres. So I wouldn't think of that piece as being something that would only be played by a reminiscent person like myself that remembers it when it was a hit. You may run into a 15-year-old that knows it as well as anybody. All right, I'm going to switch gears now and go to a book called Silly Songs for Kids. Now, the last webinar that I did, I introduced this and played a little bit in it, and I wanted to come back to this and go a little deeper. These were songs, are songs that have grown out of having grandkids around, and I've been writing little tunes for them for a variety of different reasons, everything from, you'll get a kick out. One of them is called Be Kind to Your Sister. A little messaging going on there. But the pieces are everything from black key pieces all the way through early elementary on-staff pieces. So these are supplementary pieces that could be used in the first couple of years of a piano education. And I'm going to look at Race Cars. Race Cars is one of these pieces that uses a couple of notes that they may not have in their lesson book yet. For instance, the E flat in the right hand and the B flat in their left hand. The right hand is in a basic C position, except for that E flat. And their left hand has that B flat blues tone that they will love the sound of, but it may not be typical for them to find it in one of their lesson pieces. Race Cars has a teacher accompaniment, and it would be a fun piece to learn as a repertoire piece, and then on the repeat, rather than playing the melody as written, make up their own melody with the tones that are under their fingers from the piece. This piece I wrote for Charlie, my grandson, who was into these little, I don't know what, matchbox cars, I guess. Red cars, blue cars, yellow ones too, green cars, black cars, shiny and new, race cars. Speed up, slow down, round we go, left turn, right turn, round we go, round we go. And Charlie will sing it with me. In fact, he knows it as a song to sing, and the next year or two that he plays this in his piano lessons, he'll already have the he'll be ready. So the video we're going to watch, I have recorded the piano or the teacher accompaniment so that you can hear how it all fits together. Race cars, race cars. Okay. Same note, different rhythm. the teacher accompaniment with them to get the full experience. That's the great fun of these pieces. So that is Silly Songs for Kids. And I'm going to switch over into now a more advanced level. And we're looking at a book that is a collection of etudes. And you may have heard me speak on this book before, but I'm going to approach it in a different way. The pieces in this book were written to study the major and minor modes in all 12 keys, and the pieces get the student acclimated and comfortable in those key centers with pieces that are also expressive and fun to play just as repertoire pieces, but they're really digging in and getting to know those key centers. And I think they also make good starting points for extracurricular activities like transposition, compositional activities, improvisational activities. And to be specific, I'm going to look at Etude in D major, which is a jig, a 9/8 jig. You'll see that it is. Once that piece is firmly underhand, it makes a good transpositional exercise. Place that pattern in other key centers. How about going to C? The whole piece is very much under the hands, firmly in the key center. So once they're comfortable with the feeling of that piece, it would transfer nicely to C or F or G and would serve well in transposition. Another piece I'd like to look more carefully at is the etude in B minor. This particular piece doesn't have a traditional melody in the sense that, you know, the tune is coming primarily out of the right hand with the left hand serving as an accompanist. It is kind of patterned arpeggios with little breaks, and you could look at it, if you wanted to, as really an accompaniment for a larger composition. So what if, when you first start this piece, you as the teacher play the piece and the student pulls themselves away from the piano and listens and simply imagines a melody and then sings that melody? This is really good exercise for a pianist to get away from what happens when you're at the keyboard and you fall into patterns, but to make up a tune that is just coming out of the musicianship of our voice. And I'm not a great singer, and it doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is to just respond to the sound and create a melody. Another thing that could be done is to then go to the keyboard or even a synthesizer, some other tonal sound, and create a melody at the keyboard with the recorded etude or with you playing it. Now, what I've done in the video is I've recorded the etude in B minor, and then I'm coming up with a melody with just my right hand in that B minor key center. So here is the recorded example. let go of their theoretical mind and of trying to figure this out, just responding to what they're hearing, and their hand will lead them when they play a note that doesn't work against that piece. They're going to move and find what does. This is a really interesting way to develop a melodic sensibility with something that already exists. And it's also a really fun thing to do as a student teacher. You're playing duets that are being created on the spot. And the more they do this, the more comfortable they'll get with it. And they will develop their own sense of melody. And it's a great way to prompt compositional development. All right, so circles. I am, let's see, what did I do? Okay. On to the essential hymn anthology. It kind of took my breath away when I received a call from Charmaine at Hal Leonard, and she said, we're thinking about putting together a collection of the hymns you've arranged over the years into one collection. And it just didn't realize how many of those there were. We ended up coming up with a book that has 100 and how many pages? 145 pages in it. And we could have made it, it was hard to choose what to put together, but more or less we came up with, you folks are so kind to send me notes about these things, and I begin to develop a sense about which ones you're enjoying, which ones you've liked. And so I put together the ones that have seemed to be appreciated the most, put them together in one collection. This is 20 years of writing that is found in this book. Then we added 3 or 4, I think, 4 new arrangements that are not available anywhere else. And one of those is an arrangement of Just As I Am, the traditional tune. But paired with the Satie melody, this wonderful accompaniment, the one that we tend to know the most, is. But this is the second one, which is in this kind of a mode. And it eventually has this tune. So again, similar to what we did with By the Time I Get to Phoenix, this is taking something out of the repertoire, bringing it into the world of this hymn, and then letting them sit alongside one another. This particular one I have used, since I wrote it just last year, I've used it a couple of times in a service situation. So here is Just As I Am. Okay. Well, our timing is going to work out pretty well here. We're coming up to the last book prior to the center of this webinar. And the last one in this first half is a book called Classic Duets. This was a great idea that came from Hal Leonard to me. I think it was Ben Coley that originally called me and said, what about duets that are based on, everybody wants to play chopsticks and heart and soul and some of these pieces, but let's make real pianistic duets out of those tunes and then do other pieces like Lean on Me that every kid plunks out of the piano. Let's create a duet out of that. And then we couldn't pass up putting in, Bicycle Built for Two and a few of these pieces that just fit under that concept. So here is Chopsticks. Now what I did here in my studio is I just recorded the secondo and I'm playing the primo. I tried to find a duet partner in my neighborhood here. I couldn't get one recruited. I tried to talk my wife into coming down and doing that. No dice. So anyway, here is Chopsticks. Hey, well, I believe that Chrissy has some things to give away.
We do. And great job, Philip. I love that last piece. That was so fun. My husband and I actually love playing piano duets. We'll drink bourbon and sight read, and I'll have to get that book.
You get one written in D flat for you, maybe, or B, right? That would be later in the bourbon session.
There you go. All right, so we have 2 questions, and that means 2 winners. So get ready to type in the chat. First question. And I should mention, the winner will receive all of the books that were presented to this point. So everything from country songs with a classical flair down to classic duets. So first question. Which grandchild did Philip write race cars for? All right. Looking for your answer in chat. So which grandchild did Philip write race cars for? Yes, Lauren Odell. She was the first one to answer. It was Charlie. So again, that was Lauren Odell is the winner of that one. And question number 2. What anniversary is Hal Leonard currently celebrating? What anniversary is Hal Leonard currently celebrating? Yes, okay. We've got another winner. It is Erica Calvert. All right. So again, those 2 winners will receive all the titles presented to this point. And if you can please email edpianowebinars@halener.com with your address, and then we'll make sure to mail those out to you. All right. So I guess we can get started on part 2.
I was realizing, I was looking around for a copy of the book that we're going to go into here into the second half, and I'm realizing 2 of these books are so new, I don't have copies of them yet. I have editing proofs here, but I don't have the books. In any case, we're going to start the second half here with a book that I have to say, this was one of the trickiest books I've arranged in recent years. It is a collection of Duke Ellington songs arranged for easy piano. And those of you that have heard me workshop before know that I always laugh at the title, Easy Piano, because it's easy for who, right? Well, easier than piano solo, and you can say that for sure, but it is definitely an intermediate undertaking when you're talking especially about Duke Ellington. His melodies and harmonies are so sophisticated, but it is a great opportunity to teach jazz concepts. And I tried to keep the arrangements really, really buttoned down in the sense that the accompaniments are as simple as I could make them. The melodies are as unadorned as possible so that you could focus in on the syncopations of the jazz rhythms and on the actual meat of the harmonic interest of the piece. It was not necessary to add a lot of fluff around these arrangements because the basic guts of these tunes are so sophisticated. So for an example, Don't Get Around Much Anymore has a great teaching point in that you've got this rhythm that is very typical in jazz. That rest on the beat followed by very typical bass pattern. So when you have the entire piece is a great study of that feel. And I believe we have a video of this one. So that you can be analyzing the harmonic content of the piece at the same time you're learning the piece. I think that this Duke Ellington book would work well for even a fairly advanced student that is not so into jazz, because this goes back, it takes away the technical elements and focuses on the elements of jazz that need to be addressed. This particular book has Sophisticated Lady, Do Nothing Till You Hear From Me. My favorite in here is actually Satin Doll, which is a theme and variation type arrangement. So Duke Ellington for easy piano. And as always with pop tunes, I encourage you to first listen to that song. Find it on YouTube and listen to a recording of Duke playing it and capture the feeling of that arrangement before you dive into the learning it at the piano. Last year was one of those 0 birthdays for me. And I just felt like I wanted to write a collection of pieces that were a little bit reflective, looking back about personal things, life milestones. And first of all, I wrote it as a collection of pieces to record. And I recorded a piano solo record that's called So Far. And this recording you can find on any of the streaming services or any of the places that you like to go to for music. Just search So Far Phillip Keveren and you'll find it. I recorded it on a magnificent piano in a private home here in Franklin, Tennessee. This piano is one of the most beautiful pianos I've ever played. And it is sitting in a room with big, tall, beautiful ceilings. And I just couldn't get over how gorgeous that piano sounded in that room. And then I took them and created a print book out of it. These are pieces that, it's tricky talking about levels sometimes. Some of these are technically not that difficult, but emotionally and getting what's built in the piece it would be advanced. Others sound like they're technically advanced, but they're quite patterned actually under the fingers. And today I'd like to show you a piece in here called Fireflies. And Fireflies was inspired by when we moved to Tennessee in 2003, in the month of June. And the first night we looked out and saw the fireflies, being from the West Coast, we had never seen anything like that. Our entire backyard and the woods beyond were just lit up with these fireflies. And it's such a potent memory in my mind. It was just a magical experience. So this piano piece is trying to capture that experience. And it's always interesting to perform a piece that is capturing some sort of an image. And, fireflies, just in the way they move, are light and, leggero, I guess you would say. So here is Fireflies. Experience, I think, for anyone learning these pieces would go find these recordings and listen to the performance as I interpreted it and get that in your head, and then approach the score and do your own interpretation. I really love hearing pianists when they play something that I've written and they find some window into it that I didn't imagine. And I think that's the exciting thing about interpreting repertoire, and particularly contemporary repertoire, where you have not decades or centuries of performance practice embedded into that piece, but you can approach it from a newer, fresh thinking. Okay, so far. Praise and worship for classical piano. Now, we looked at country songs well, we called that one with a classical flair, but same idea. In the first half, this is approaching contemporary praise and worship songs from that standpoint. And over the years, this has sort of evolved in my mind. I think when I first did one of these types of books 20, 25 years ago, I was kind of being somewhat literal about taking, okay, this one's going to be more or less in classical style. This one's going to be romantic. This one's going to be impressionistic. Maybe this one's Baroque. And to some extent, I've find myself now more thinking in terms of, if this was a piece of music that was originally written for the piano, how might it come out? Not an arrangement, but a new piece written for the piano. And it might have some elements of impressionism in it, might have some classical elements, but more than that, it is an expression on the piano that is pianistic and very much born into that piano. So we're going to look at a couple of these. I went to pick up the book and I realized this is one of the ones that I haven't seen it yet. It's that fresh. The ink is dry and it is available, but I don't have one in my hands. The first piece is As the Deer. And in this case, I start in kind of a chorale style. It's really sort of two-part developing into four-part. And then it becomes more romantic in its gesture. Here is As the Deer. Really one of the greatest songs that's come out of the contemporary praise song world. The second one I'd like to show you is another one that I think musically is one of my favorites from recent years. Here I Am to Worship. And in this case, you'll see that it is quite, it falls into a romantic kind of gesture. Starts with a left-hand pattern that you would find in romantic literature. So Here I Am to Worship. love that. You put a sticker on there saying, start here. That's perfect. I'd forgotten that I started right on the chorus. And the reason I did that rather than playing the introduction is so that you could hear the development section that was written into this setting following the chorus. And that is one of the things that is fun to do about this kind of a collection, is kind of going on a little bit of an expedition of that material introduced in the song, and something that would be typical of a classical composer. And then we come back around the corner and bring back Here I Am to Worship. I will tell you that I have used these settings also as piano and instrument duets. I've done concerts in the last couple of years where, in fact, that one right there works quite well with flute. And just adding the flute tune on the top of that, and you have yourself a little bit of messing around, you have yourself a nice duet. So worship songs, and I want to thank Charmaine. Charmaine, I think, is on the line here. Charmaine just got back, Siajan, just got back from Indonesia. She was in Malaysia visiting her family. And right before she left, I turned in the manuscripts for for the worship collection, as well as the next book I'm going to show you. And I said, if there's any way, if these could be out by the end of January for the webinar, that would be nice. But I realized it was maybe a long shot, particularly with the holidays in the center there. And Charmaine got those books edited and off, and they are here. And that is amazing. That's really fast production. I appreciate it so much. And I hope that you folks out there in webinar land appreciate it too. And that book might be one that you can use. The book I'd like to show you now is called 3-Minute Encores. And, you know, the books that I write for Hal Leonard come from a variety of sources. Sometimes I'll have an idea and I'll suggest it and we'll talk about it. Other times, Hal Leonard will say, hey, we're getting the catalog of so-and-so, and how about how about this book? How about that book? For instance, The Who was a surprise to me. The Who for classical piano, I would have never have thought of that. And it turned out to be a really fun book to write. 3-Minute Encores was a book I wanted to write that's just been floating around in my head for a few years. And here is the situation. You know, you do a serious, so to speak, recital that is classical literature, more serious sort of material, and you come to the end and you'd like to have something as an encore. If you're fortunate enough that your audience says, hey, we like that, we'd like to hear one more, that you can have something in your back pocket that's kind of fun, a little bit left of center. And so I chose titles in here of pop songs from different eras that would appeal to different types of audiences. And the idea is to do something that's short and sweet and hard to beat. It's going to be under 3 minutes. It's going to be a little flashy, a little bit over the top, or it might be very serene and introspective and actually technically simple, but just a nice afterthought for a recital. Each one of them has some different approach to it. The one that I recorded for the video is Goodbye to Love. And Goodbye to Love was a Carpenter hit. And I just thought, just with the title, that it made sort of a fun idea for an encore. And those of you that know me know I'm a little bit of a Carpenter nut. Karen Carpenter's voice is just part of my youth. And I always also appreciated so much the arrangements that Richard did that had a bit of a pianistic bent to them. This is a flashy version of Goodbye to Love. I had to practice this a bit to get it under my fingers for you. but it would be fun to do in a recital, and you'll see that it just starts right off the cuff, dives right into it with the main motif, and away you're off. So Goodbye to Love. So that level-wise would be the most advanced piece in the book, and then you peel back from that to a chorale type setting of, gosh, I forgot to put the tune list in front of me so I can speak with intelligence. Well, it doesn't matter. We're coming up to the end of our time in any case. So 3-minute encores might be nice for you, yourself for recitals, or for one of your upper level students. I'm just looking outside and I see that the ice has decided to drop off the side of my house. It must be getting warm enough that it's melting a little bit, and I'm hearing these crashes out there, and it's throwing me off a little bit. So I think we're coming up to the point where we may have the opportunity to answer some questions, and we have another giveaway as well, don't we, Chrissy?
We do. Yeah, so while you are typing your questions in the Q&A section, let's do 2 more giveaways. So the first one, this person is going to win everything that was presented in the second half, from Duke Ellington to 3-minute encores. So this first question, what is the ad code for today's special teacher VIP offer? What is our ad code? All right, we still don't have a winner. Oh, here we go. Looks like Kelly Stegman. That's right, it's PK22. So congratulations, Kelly. Please email edpiano, what is that? edpianowebinars@howlearner.com. All right, and then for our grand prize, this question will win the everything that was presented by Phillip today. What month did Phillip and his family move to Tennessee? What month did he move to Tennessee? And here I ask, oh, there we go. Wow, people were definitely listening. Rebecca Lou, yes, you are right. It is June. So congrats, Rebecca. So make sure that you email us with your address and we'll mail those out for you. All right, so now we have some time to answer some questions. I know a few people had asked about the titles in that last book in 3-minute encores. So
okay, you know what? I literally do not have the book in front of me. I bet you, let me go, I can find a proof.
Or maybe Charmaine can type it in the...
I remember there is, there's a song called Watermelon. It's a Harry Styles piece. It's a new piece that I wouldn't know, but a young audience would. Watermelon, what is that?
Watermelon Sugar High.
Ooh, yes, watermelon. And then there is Sweet Caroline, the Neil Diamond hit, which makes a great encore.
Yes.
Let me think. Isn't that odd? I'm just drawing a blank of the tunes in that list. Maybe go ahead and ask another question. In the meantime, I will. Maybe someone can send me a note.
No problem. Some other people commented on teaching ensemble classes. Have you given any thought to books to use for ensembles?
Oh boy! Well, we did a series of those books a number of years back, and I know folks have loved those books. It's probably time to do another one. I'm going to actually make a note of it right here because that sounds fun. I think it might be. Thank you for the suggestion because I think it is time for another ensemble book.
Awesome. Also, what are some of the latest books and also your favorites for piano forehands?
Well, of course, we did classic duets today. I'm currently writing a book that I'm just about getting ready to send in, which is duets of Queen songs, Bohemian Rhapsody and all the rest of those, which I think will be a fun book. There was a book that came out just at the end of last quarter. Didn't we do a duet book beforehand? It's brand new. Oh. Anyway, if you look on the Hal Leonard website under duets under my name, you'll see that one came out just in the last few months. I'm feeling like I'm losing my mind. I can't remember details about anything here.
It's okay. We'll put it in the Q&A in the chat.
Okay.
It's okay. We've got Charmaine and Amy working behind the scenes here.
Okay.
All right. Another question. What do you feel when playing a song? How would you describe it? Going a little abstract here.
What do I feel?
Yeah.
Well, sheer terror many times. No. Well, that's an interesting question, though, because once you get a piece of music under your fingers to where you own it technically, and you're able to really live in the music, that's such an important time in the evolution of your performance of a piece. And for instance, that Goodbye to Love that I just played for you, that was a bit of a learning process for me to get that under my fingers. And now I know that piece, and I can kind of hear Karen Carpenter singing it in my ear while I'm doing it because I know it well. And that certainly informs your interpretation when you know it well enough that you're almost listening to yourself play rather than executing it.
Love that. And now, how long does it usually take you to write an arrangement?
Boy, I'll tell you, that's a wide-ranging question because there are days, certain types of books, I might get a couple arrangements a day done, or even more if it's certain types of things. But other things, like these encores, I spent 2 or 3 days per piece at least on them. And I'm currently working, or just turned in, a collection of Sondheim arrangements, Stephen Sondheim. That was like pulling teeth. It very long process because the compositions are so detailed and so tricky figuring out how to get it, to work on the piano. But the way I work, I'm an early morning person, so I always have my scores here on the piano, and I spend 2 or 3 hours right first thing in the morning at the piano, and then I go and work over at the computer doing, orchestrations or whatever else I'm doing in my musical life. But I'm pretty consistent about spending a couple hours each morning here at the piano.
Awesome. All right, well, we have time for a couple more. So if you do have any questions for Phillip, please type them in the Q&A section. Another one on here is any one-handed books. We have a teacher who has a stroke student.
Ah, I have not written one myself. I'll bet you I know we have some left-handed books uh, in the catalog, but that would be interesting. Just a right hand or just a left hand. I have not done that personally, but it's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Looking to see if I missed anything. You definitely had a lot of comments. Everyone loves you.
Oh,
we do too. We do too. Let's see. I believe everything else has been answered in the chat, in the Q&A. Again, just to remind everyone, there's a 25% discount and free shipping on teachervip.com when you use PK22. And make sure to get those 2 complimentary pieces in the handout section. All right. Any final words?
thank you for coming. It's been so nice today. No, I don't. I really need a Carol Burnett style send-off, don't I? But
Hey, I know a new book that you could do that.
Well, all I can say is that I look forward to the day when we're all able to gather together and do this again live. It's wonderful being able to connect with you through the internet, but someday this pandemic will fly off into history and we'll gather again.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Amy and Charmaine and Philip. And can't wait to see you all again.
Bye for now.